Parole and Probation Administration. Parole and Probation Administration (PPA) is an attached agency of the Department of Justice which provides a less costly alternative to imprisonment of offenders who are likely to respond to individualized community-based treatment programs. Their mandates are following: promote the correction and rehabilitation of an offender by providing him with individualized treatment, provide an opportunity for reformation of a penitent offender which might be less probable if he were to serve a prison sentence, and lastly, prevent the commission of offenders. Major rehabilitation program for PPA. The goal of rehabilitation program of PPA is to effect the rehabilitation and reintegration of probationers, parolees, pardonees, and first-time minor drug offenders as productive, law-abiding, and socially responsible members of the community through well-planned supervision programs for probationers, parolees, pardonees, and first-time minor drug offenders, which are aligned to national program trusts of the government such as Sariling Sikap, jail decongestion, establishment of innovative and financially and technically feasible projects for the moral, spiritual, and economic upliftment of probationers, parolees, pardonees, and first-time minor drug offenders utilizing available community resources. PPA has adopted a harmonized and reintegrated treatment program of these clients to effect the rehabilitation. This harmonized and integrated program involves the restorative justice principle and concepts, the therapeutic community modality, and lastly, the use of volunteer probation aids. Figure 1: PPA's Harmonized Rehabilitation Program. It is an individual community based three pronged approach to crime prevention and treatment of offenders with restorative justice as its philosophical foundation, therapeutic community as the treatment modality, and volunteers as lead community resources. Restorative justice. Restorative justice is a process through which remorseful offenders accept responsibility for their misconduct, particularly to their victims and to the community. It creates an obligation to make things right through proactive involvement of victims, ownership of the offender, of the victim, and the community in search for solutions which promote repair, reconciliation, and reassurance. Thus, the community search for solutions. The restorative justice process is actively participated in by the victim, the offender, and or any restorative or any individual or community member affected by the crime to resolve conflicts resulting from the individual or community member. Criminal offense, often with the help of a fair and impartial third party. Restorative processes include mediation, conferencing, sentencing, support circle, and the like. The restorative outcome is the agreement obtained as a product of a restorative justice process. Restorative restorative outcomes include restitution, community work service, and any other program or response designed to accomplish reparation of the victim and the reintegration of the victims and or offenders. Volunteer probation aid. Volunteerism is a program of the Parole and Probation Administration (PPA) aimed at generating maximum, effective, and efficient citizen participation and community involvement in the process of client rehabilitation, prevention of a crime, and the overall administration of criminal justice. The task of volunteer probation aides include offender guidance and counseling, act as a plaintiff's facilitator, implement treatment's objectives as a provided in the program of supervision, refer to appropriate agencies, clients with various spiritual, mental, social, emotional, physical, or health needs, and lastly, act as a resource individual. Therapeutic community modality. Therapeutic Community (TC) in DOG PPA program for rehabilitation of offenders is a self-help social learning treatment modality that uses TC family community of staff and clients as the primary therapeutic vehicle to foster behavioral and attitudinal change. Its rules and norms, shared beliefs, tools, and processes combine to enable clients to actively work toward their individual goals for right living. It is held in a community based, non toward the individual goals for right living residential setting, it addressed clients' individual and group needs through a holistic, multidisciplinary range of activities interventions within the five treatment categories. First category, relational behavior management. Second category, affective emotional psychological. Third category, cognitive intellectual. Fourth category, spiritual. And last category, and psychomotor vocational survival skills. In addition, it integrates the restorative justice principles and practices and mobilized involvement of the general public through the volunteer probation aids. Therapeutic Community Ladderized Program or TCLP. The PPA imposed the Therapeutic Community Ladderized Program TCLP wherein it integrates the therapeutic community tools, norms, principles, and methods with the probation and parole requirements implemented in progressive phases within the non-residential community-based setting of the PPA's rehabilitation program of clients. It provides clients with success milestones through graduated completion criteria and aims for more active involvement of clients and their families. It seeks to give clients sustainable foundations for life after probation of parole, empower implementers, and raise the application of TC modality to higher professional standards. Program phases of TCLP. Preparatory stage. This stage corresponds to the 60-day investigation period for petitioners for probation, parole, executive clemency. As part of the investigation, the assigned officer accomplishes the intake interview using the worksheet and secures additional relevant information through other investigation procedures. The investigation officer's findings, together with the results of client's needs and problem, checklists would provide the initial general assessment that will, in turn, be used as a basis for preparation for client's personal development assessment that will, in turn, be used as basis for preparation for client's personal development plan if probation parole is recommended. At this stage, the IO and CPPO OIC should aim to create in the client and his family a mindset of cooperation and support for the former's rehabilitation program. At the end of the preparatory stage, the clients should have accomplished the first needs and problems checklist and initial personal development plan together with the IO. Clients should have committed to comply with the conditions of the provisions, parole, and participations in the TC program. Problems that may hinder clients' participation in the TC program should have been identified and addressed. Clients, family members, and VPAs shall have attended the introductory briefing during the investigation period or within the first month of supervision. Lastly, the local government units of chief executive and or officials shall have been informed and invited to the introductory briefing. Criteria for entry into Phase 1 are My Needs and Problems Checklist accomplished, MPDP initially accomplished, client committed in the PDP comply with the conditions of provision, parole, and to participate in the TC program, client and family members attended introductory briefing, client's family expressed commitment to support his/her participation in the TC. Program Phase 1 Orientation. This is where the building a foundation of the TCLP is done. Clients are assimilated into the TC culture during this phase. He/she requires understanding of the program philosophy and beliefs of TC, his/her role in the hierarchical structure, and rules to be observed as a TC family member. Clients is familiarized with the TC unique terminology and introduced to the behavior shaping tools with opportunities to practice as well as actually uses the basic ones. The process of enculturation also generates self-awareness, challenges denials, and begins the client's journey to self-responsibility and accountability. This phase culminates with drawing up his/her behavior, attitude, traits, habits, plan, and a bath contract, and making an assessment of his/her progress through the checklist for promotion for phase 2. At the end of the orientation phase, the client shall have relational behavior management, complied with probation parole conditions, use pull-ups, affirmations, elaboration, and other behavior shaping tools, refrain from use of prohibited drugs, establish bonding and trust with the TC family, involves some family members in the rehabilitation activities. 2. Affective emotional and psychological. Shown good grooming. Begun to accept responsibility for their personal change. Cognitive intellectual. Identify personal strengths and weaknesses and resolve to change specific negative behaviors and attitudes. Acquired knowledge of the TC concepts, tools, and processes. Spiritual. Applied at least one TC unwritten philosophy. Developed insight on the rehabilitation program through reflections. Demonstrated understanding and appreciation of the TC philosophy. Expressed insights on their faith in God as the primary source of help in order to change. Lastly, psychomotor vocational skills. Demonstrated responsibility through performance of assigned tasks. Criteria for promotion to Phase 2. Relational behavior management. Complied with conditions of provisions parole. Completed 100% of TC Phase 1 sessions. Performed an assigned rule of participated in the required number of morning meetings. Tested negative for prohibited drugs prior to promotion. Became a member of the TC family. Clients' family members involved in pertinent Phase 1 sessions and or reinforcing activities. Affective, emotional, and psychological. Improved and maintained hygiene and good grooming. Declared their commitment to carry out their bath plan and bath contract. Cognitive intellectual. TC terminologies understood and used. Spiritual. Use an unwritten philosophy to express concern for a TC brother or sister. Accomplish at least 50% of our required reflections. Quoted and explained some lines of the TC philosophy. Psychomotor vocational survival skills. Perform the duties of their position in the TC hierarchical structure. Participated in required reinforcing activities. Reviewed and or modified MPDP, formulated in the preparatory stage, prepared a roadmap to success prior to terminations of provision parole. Phase 2, Primary Treatment. The focus of primary treatment is to effect behavioral change and develop client initiative and self-discipline. Through constant applications of TC values and with regular use of TC tools, clients manifest a socially acceptable behavior and live an addiction-free lifestyle. Equipped with basic manifest a socially acceptable literacy and employable skills imbibed with TC values and precepts. Clients become more productive member of their community, gender sensitive, environment conscious, and economically empowered. At the end of the primary treatment phase, the client shall have relational behavior management, continue to comply with probation parole conditions, demonstrate specially acceptable behavior, become become familiarized with behavior shaping tools and apply them and appropriately. Become aware of and apply correct practices and environment issues and activities of the community. Delegates other responsibilities to the Assistant Chief Expeditor and monitors every activity, oversees the schedule of the day, communicates with department heads in execution of job functions, communicates with coordinator of the day on an hourly basis. Assistant Chief Expeditor. Muna siya ang execute sa plano ni Chief Expeditor. Ang Assistant Chief Expeditor responsible for execution of directives from the Chief Expeditor, supervises the activity inside the dormitories, monitors overall function of the different departments and reports to the Chief all the incidents, facilitates department head meetings in the absence of the Chief Expeditor, job changes and requests. Department head conducts departmental meetings before job function, delegates specific tasks to team members and monitors individual conduct, monitors participation of members to activities of the program, which as morning meeting, seminars, and group sessions. Check attendance and whereabouts of team members. Attend department heads pre-evaluation meetings regarding job change. Recommends grants or denies team members in-house requests in the department head meeting. Conduct posts to residents regarding the result of the request. Screens team members' request. Department crew. Ang department crew mo ni ang mga mubuhat sa buhatonon. Ang department crew responsible na sila for carrying out tasks, duties, and responsibilities of their concerned departments. TCMP department and functions. The following are the different departments within the therapeutic community and their function. Business Office Department or BOD welcomes new members of the family and makes sure that policy rules and their limitations are clear. Responsible for facilitating younger members groups by sharing experience. Role model that shows how to overcome trying circumstances. Orient new residents how to drop sleeps, ventilate feelings in the encounter group, use the behavior shaping tools and internalize the TC philosophy and unwritten philosophies. Provide support to residents when needed. Prepare sequence of programs for special events and disseminates all written communications. Maintains and updates bulletin board postages and announcements. Updates profile of residents and provides a list of residents in the tag board to be posted in every dormitory. Prepare sound system in every activity. Expediting team oversees the day-to-day affairs of the different departments. Reports any incident in the TC facility and overall attitude of the community. In charge of the attendance of the residents in group seminars, static specialized groups, confronts attitudes around the house and make necessary steps to address them through booking. Coordinates with staff regarding announcements, activities, medications, and court hearings for information dissemination. Coordinates with coordinator on duty and medical staff in attending to sick residents. Kitchen department. Prepare designated room assignments upon admission of new residents. Oversees activities of residents in the learning experience structure. Kitchen department. Proper prepare and cooks food for daily consumption. Maintains quality of food and dietary requirements of every menu. Preserves a sanitary working environment and maintains kitchen equipment property. Manages quantity of food servings to minimize wastage. Prepare menu for special requirements and occasions. Serves meals on time. Ensures proper storage of food items to avoid spoilage and contamination. Conducts, conducts regular health screening of kitchen workers. Maintains proper washing of dishes and kitchen utensil and proper disposal of waste materials. Maintenance and landscaping department maintains cleanliness of grounds, responsible in planting, watering, trimming of plants, trees, and flowers beds, maintains inventory of materials and equipment, informs staff of any equipment that needs repair or replacement. Job, 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 Pogo. Job, job rotation. This kind of job will be done regularly every 6 months. This will be done by the TCNP director by calling all the staff counselors to facilitate procedural change of positions handled by department heads and coordinators. Once the meeting is done, the coordinators will now apply for the department head positions as to where they want to be assigned that will be evaluated by the staff before giving them their new assignments. After each assignment is identified, the director of the IWDO will then announce to the community the new assignments and positions the applicants are holding. Job change with infraction offense committed. It is a sudden change of position and responsibility will occur if a certain resident holding key position commits infractions such as violation of cardinal rules. Such infraction has been verified and investigated by the responsible inmates and such an investigation report reach the staff. It is assumed that the members of the disciplinary board have already sanctioned the resident, after which he will be outside from his present position and promotion and demotion will take effect. For example, a coordinator of the kitchen department was found out using the food container to facilitate entry of alcohol beverages. He will be given sanction with the members of disciplinary board after the investigation, and the department head of kitchen will assume his position. A crew member can be promoted to take department head position. Job change vacated position upon release. The release of a resident, particularly the one who occupies a key position, will open a vacancy. The, the vacated position will be filled up by either succession depending on his or her qualifications. The director, IWDC, chief escort, or custodial may conduct interview and selection of the applicants for the position and will announce later who qualifies for the vacant position. Never allow the residents to do the selection and interview without the supervision of any staff. Livelihood and skills training. The objectives of livelihood and skills training in the TCM program are BGMP TCM manual to mot- 1 to motivate the participation of the residents in the livelihood and skills training in preparation for reintegration to the mainstream of society. The cultivate and enhance one's capacity to become productive and improve self-worth. The IWDO will conduct skills inventory to become productive and improve self-worth. Self-worth. The, the skills training needed. With the help of skilled staff or outsourced trainers, residents are trained on their specific fields of interest, which could be their source of livelihood once they are released from jail. The vocational skills training includes but are not limited to culinary arts, basic steel fabrication, beads making enhancement, rug making, wood carving, flower making, massage therapy, artistry, basic electricity, automotive, masonry and carpentry, tailoring and dressmaking, furniture, lantern and Christmas decor making, t-shirt printing, basket weaving, shell craft, guitar making, and organic farming. BJMP Therapeutic Community Philosophy. According to the BJMP Therapeutic Community Modality Program Manual, this adage expresses the philosophy of therapeutic community. I am here because there is no refuge finally from myself until I confront myself in the eyes of others. I am running. Until I suffer them to share my secrets, I have safety from them. Afraid to be known, I can neither myself or any other, I will be alone. Where else but in our common good can I see such a mirror? Here, together, I can at last appear clearly to myself, not as the giant of my dreams, nor the dwarf of my fears, but as a person, part of the whole, with my share in its purpose. In this ground, I can take root and grow, not alone anymore, as in that, but alive myself and to others. What is counseling? Counseling is defined as a professional activity of helping individuals, groups, or communities enhance or restore their capacity for psychological, emotional, and social functioning, and creating an environment favorable for the attainment of these goals. Skills and characteristics. According to the BGMP Therapeutic Community Model Program Manual, the skills and characteristics of counseling used in TCP are: first, empathy. This refers to the ability to perceive the client's feelings and to demonstrate accurate perception of the client. It is putting oneself in a client's shoes. When the client feels understood, a sense of trust or rapport is developed. Rapport paves the way to more meaningful communication and may enable the client to understand and accept more of his her complexity of feelings. Warmth. It is also known as unconditional positive regard. It involves accepting and caring about the client as a person regardless of any evaluation of prejudices on the client's behavior or thoughts. It is most often conveyed through our nonverbal behavior or bodily gestures. Respect. It refers to the belief in the client's ability to make appropriate decisions and deal appropriately with his her life situation. When give a safe and supportive environment in which to do so, it is often shown best by not offering advice or cheap comfort. The counselor shows his utmost respect to the client by listening in silence and giving him the opportunity to design his own solutions to the problem. A similar term for its empowerment as the counselor likewise demonstrate that he values the integrity of the client. Congruence, also known as genuineness, it includes the act of being honest and authentic in dealing with the client. It is showing a real concern rather than focusing on techniques, transitions. It is also being aware of the counselor's own unmet needs and how it may affect his relationship with the client. Confidentiality. It means that anything discussed during counseling session is held absolutely private and not be discussed anywhere. This contract should be held sacred so as to maintain the client's trust and enable him to disclose sensitive matters to a counselor without fear of any breach confidentiality. When when to break confidentiality. Children are being neglected or abused. Appearance in court as a witness. Client express plan to commit suicide. Client express plan to harm others. Pattern of counseling session. Here are honesty. A lot of residents continue to live in a lie without the fear of his consequences. This virtue points out the importance of truth and its relevance to recovery. Responsible love and concern. The residents will learn how to give and accept criticisms without resentment. Bonded by trust and confidence, the residents know that mistakes need to be corrected if the aim is to bring the other towards behavior change. To be aware is to be alive. Residents learn to be conscious of what is going on in the environment. In teasing minor attitude are engrossed to prevent a major attitudinal problems to arise. Trust in your environment. There will be no change if there is no honesty and disclosure. Before doing so, trust must be established. One should believe that the program can help him. In doing so, he will learn to accept the program and use its tools to evoke changes in himself. Be careful what you ask for, you might just get it. Man by nature is ambitious. We never get content with what we have. We want more, even if having so will lead us to commit mistakes. We should learn to appreciate what we have and we use it to better ourselves. No free lunch. In reality, nothing really comes easy. If we aim for something, we must work for it. There is no pride in getting something the easy way. It is hard to let go of something that we labored for. Change will not come if we will just wait for it to happen. We must make it happen. You can keep it unless you give it away. Knowledge or learning is better appreciated if shared with others. Something becomes valuable if used to help others makes positive change in their lives. Helping others help us in the process as we start to feel good about ourselves. What goes around comes around. Whatever you do unto others will be done unto you, and any good deed will be rewarded, while evil deeds will be punished in the end. We should always be mindful of our actions as they are the parameters of how we will be judged in the end. Act as if. Learning and accepting the TC program is not easy. Most residents feel resistant towards it. Thus, philosophy teaches the resident to go with the flow as a way of compliance. In the process, they will learn to embrace it and behavior will soon become natural. Understand rather than be understood. It is sometimes common for us to be selfish. We find it hard to admit ourselves. We expect everyone else to understand our mistakes. Hence, we tend to blame everybody but others. Understanding others is a virtue because it speaks of wrongdoings, but we seldom try to understand humility and patience. If we take the first step to know where others are coming from, there would be fewer conflicts in relationships. Personal growth before vested status. Sometimes we become so wrapped up in our own status or positions in life that we tend to forget to develop relationships with the people around us. We should cultivate our personal abilities before we scale the ladder to success. Compensation is valid. Our reward for working hard is well deserved. We get what we put into it. Forgiveness. To accept what has been done, move on, and get over the hurt and anger give us feelings of inner peace and happiness. Failure to get over the pains will pin us down and stunt our progress. Humility. To humble oneself before others is a laudable virtue. We are often enveloped by the pride that it is difficult for us to lower ourselves and admit our inadequacies and limitations. By doing so, we develop a fair insight about ourselves, thus giving us the challenge to improve ourselves. You alone can do it, but you can do it alone. Oftentimes, we feel invincible and indefensible, knowing the certain task can only accomplished by us. We don't realize that we have a certain limitations, that without the help of others, the burden will be too great for us. We should learn to reach out for help and admit our weaknesses. Pride in quality. Time flies so fast that we tend to hurry in everything we do. We lose our focus and do things haphazardly, just for the sake of completion. We should always seek quality in our work. The product of our labor speaks of our attitude towards life in general. Feelings don't think. We usually react impulsively to things around us because of our feelings. Before we can even think, an action has already been done. Everything starts in the mind. If we think before we act, chances are we will behave with contempt as we have analyzed the process before the action. Get, guilt kills. One of the underlying reasons for depression is guilt. It is a feeling of shame and self blame. If a guilt feeling remains unresolved, it can be turned inwards, thus resulting in self inflicted harm. Hang though, hung tough. Sometimes we feel that there is no end to our miseries, and we feel helpless and hopeless. No matter how dim life seems to be, there is always hope in every problem that there is a solution. Every problem is a learning experience that would make us together and that make us tougher in dealing with life's challenges. You are brother's keeper. In TC, each one is responsible for other members of the community. The failure of one is the failure of all. This gives all residents a sense of responsibility in shepherding others. The success of the program reflects how one cares for the other. Chapter 6, Rehabilitation and Reintegration Programs of Bukur, DDB, and PPA. Learning Objectives. At the end of this chapter, the students will be able to define Bureau of Corrections, identify the mandates of Bureau of Corrections, explain the reformation of national inmates of the Bukor, define dangerous drug board, enumerate some of the drug treatment modalities, define parole and probation administration, explain the major rehabilitation program of PPA, define therapeutic community ladderized program, and enumerate and explain the phase in the therapeutic community ladderized program. Bureau of Corrections. The Bureau of Corrections, BUCOR, is charged with custody and rehabilitation of national offenders, that is, those sentenced to serve a term of important of more than 3 years. It was formerly called Bureau of Prisons when its main thrust before was safekeeping of national prisoners in 1987. The Bureau of Prisons was renamed Bureau of Corrections under Executive Number 292, the Bureau of Prisons of the Administrative Code of 1987, to emphasize the shift in its primary goal from punitive to rehabilitative approach. Bureau of Corrections maintains seven correctional, namely, first, New Bilibid Prison in Muntinlupa City, Correctional Institute for Women in Mandaluyong City, Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm Puerto Princesa City, Davao Prison and Penal Farm Davao del Norte, Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm Occidental Mindoro, San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm Zamboanga City, and lastly, Leyte Regional Prison, Apuyog Leyte. Mandates of the Bureau of Corrections. The Bucor shall oversee safekeeping and instituting and reformation programs to national inmates sentenced more than 3 years through progressive, effective, and efficient administration. First, what is safekeeping of national PDLs? In congruence with the United Nations Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, the safekeeping of PDL shall include shall include decent and adequate provision of necessities such as shelters, quarters, food, water, clothing, and medicine. Proper observance of prescribed privileges such as regulated communication and visitation, and efficient processing of necessary documentary requirements and records for their timely release. The processing of these documentary requirements shall be undertaken by the Directorate from Inmate Documents and Records. Number 2. Security of national inmates. It is the complementary component of safekeeping is in custodial function. It ensures that inmates are completely incapacitated from further committing criminal acts and have been totally cut off from their criminal networks while serving a sentence inside the premises of the National Penitentiary. Security also includes protection against illegal organized armed groups which have the capacity of launching an attack on any prison camp of the National Penitentiary to rescue their convicted comrade or forcibly amass firearms issued to corrections officers. The security of the inmates shall be undertaken by the custodial force consisting of corrections officers with a ranking system and salary grades similar to its counterpart in the BGMP. The circumferential security activities to be undertaken are proper custodial, implementation of prison laws and regulations to include prevention of prison violence, efficient recovery of fugitive. Reformation of national inmates. The core objects in the administration of these reformation programs is the effective treatment of antisocial behavior and destructive personality disorders of an inmate. The circumferential reformation program, which will be institutionalized by Bucor for the inmates, consists of the following: A. Moral and spiritual program, education and training program, work and livelihood program, sports and recreation program, health and welfare program, and lastly, behavior modification program. What is moral and spiritual program? Moral spiritual program. This refers to the moral and spiritual values formation of inmates, which will be institutionalized by the Directorate for Moral and Spiritual Welfare, which include the practice of one's religion and beliefs, participating religious volunteer organizations and individuals shall be regulated and managed by the MSW. Education and training program. This refers to the administration of formal and non-formal education and skills development of inmates, which shall be institutionalized by the Directorate for Education and Training. Participating volunteer teachers, professors, instructors, and trainers shall be regulated and managed by DET. The third one, Work and Livelihood Program. This refers to the administration of skills development programs on work and livelihood to achieve self-sufficiency of inmates in the prison community and for income generation of the agency. These shall be institutionalized by the Directorate for Work and Livelihood. Volunteer participating agencies, non-government organizations, and individuals shall be regulated and managed by DWD. And last, Sports and Recreation Program. This refers to the administration of physical and recreation programs to engagement to achieve mental alertness and physical agility in the spirit of sportsmanship. Health and Welfare Program. This refers to the administration of proper nutrition, hygiene, sanitation, cleanliness, and promotion of good health to inmates. This also includes appropriate provision of medical care of or hospitalization of sick, mentally impaired, old age, and disabled inmates. This shall be institutionalized by the Directorate of Health and Welfare Services. Volunteer non-government agencies, participating organizations, and individuals shall be regulated, managed by DHWS. Lastly, Behavior Modification Program. This refers to the administration of programs for the character formation of an inmate necessary for effective interpersonal relationship in the prison community. This program also includes therapeutic community. This shall be institutionalized by the Directorate for Behavior Modification. Volunteer participating agencies, non-government organizations, and individuals shall be regulated and managed by the DBM. Dangerous Drug Board. Dangerous Drug Board (DDB) is the policy-making and strategy formulating body in the planning and formulations of policies and programs on drug prevention and control. One of the powers and duties of DDB is to design and develop in consultation and coordination with DOH, DSWD, and other agencies involved in the drugs control, treatment and rehabilitation, both public and private, a national treatment and rehabilitation program for drug dependence including a standard aftercare and community service program for recovering drug dependence. Dangerous drug board treatment and rehabilitation are components under the drug demand reduction pillar which aims to reintegrate into society recovering drug dependence. A chance to be treated and rehabilitated is afforded to those who have fallen prey to drugs. Using effective treatment modalities, drug dependents are being trained to kick out the habit and become productive citizens of the country once again. Requirements on the application for treatment and rehabilitation. First, drug dependency examination or DDE. Drug dependents may directly set an appointment with a DOH accredited physician for DDE. She may also secure a referral form for DDE from the legal division of the dangerous drug boards. If a drug dependent resides outside Metro Manila, she may coordinate with the nearest treatment and rehabilitation center or anti-drug abuse council in his place of residence. Philippine National Police PNP clearance. 3. Certificate of number pending case for the Regional Trial Court or RTC and or Municipal Trial Court MTC. If a minor drug dependent has a pending case, secure a certification of suspension of proceeding from the RTC or MTC where the case was filed. If an adult is drug dependent, secure a certification of dismissed case from RTC or MTC where the case was filed or certificate that the proceeding is suspended. Steps on treatment and rehabilitation of drug dependent. Secure referral from other requirements for dependency examination at the Legal Affairs Division Dangerous Drug Boards. DDE is conducted by a DOH accredited physician. For voluntary confinement, submit the result of the drug dependency examination together with the other requirements to the Legal Division of the Dangerous Drugs Board. The DDB Legal will process the petition for confinement prior to the release of the petition filed by the applicant with RTC. The release of petition is made either to the applicant or authorized representative. In case of compulsory confinement, the parents, spouse, relatives shall execute and submit a statement affidavit providing information as to the drug taking habit of alleged drug dependent. In case of compulsory confinement, the parents shall execute and submit an affidavit providing information as to taking habit of drug dependent. Drug treatment of modality. Drug, drug treatment modality is the model or approach in the treatment of drug dependence utilized by the treatment and rehabilitation centers. Here are some of the treatment modalities being implemented. First, multidisciplinary team approach is a method in the treatment and rehabilitation of drug dependence which avails of the services and skills of a team composed of psychiatrists, psychologists, social worker, occupational therapists, and other related disciplines in collaboration with the family and the drug dependent. Second, therapeutic community approach views addiction as a symptomatic manifestation of a more complex psychological problem rooted in an interplay of emotional, social, physical, and spiritual values. It is a highly structured program wherein the community is utilized as the primary vehicle to foster behavioral and attitudinal change. The patient receives the information and the impetus to change from being a part of the community. Role modeling and peer pressure play a significant part in the program. The goal of every behavior pattern teach them personal responsibility, positive their self-image, create a sense of human community and provide an environment in which human beings can grow and take responsibility and credit for the growth. Third, Hazelden, Minnesota model views addiction as a disease, an involuntary condition caused by factors largely outside a person's control. The program consists of didactic lectures, cognitive behavioral psychology, Alcoholic Anonymous principles, 12 steps principles, and bibliotherapy. It aims to treat patients with chemical dependency, endorsing a set of values and beliefs about the powerlessness of people over drug taking and turning to a higher power to help them combat the disease. In this modality, counselors and patients collaborate in defining the path to recovery. Fourth, spiritual approach uses the Bible as the primary source of inspiration to change. It views drug addiction as a sin and encourages the patients to turn away from it and renew their relationships with the Lord. Elec- Eclectic approach aims to applying a holistic approach in the rehabilitation program. The spiritual and cognitive components of 12 steps complement the behavioral aspects of the therapeutic community. The skills and services of rehabilitation professionals and paraprofessionals are made available. In doing so, different personality aspects of drug dependence are well addressed, geared towards the rehabilitation and recovery. Recommended therapeutic activities. According to the Manual of Operations for Drug Abuse Treatment and Rehabilitation Centers, here are some recommended therapeutic activities that can be used in the treatment and rehabilitation of drug dependence. Psychotherapy is a form of treatment on problems of an emotional nature in which a trained person deliberately establishes a professional relationship with the patient with the object of remedying, modifying, or retarding existing symptoms and mediating the stored patterns of behavior and promoting positive personality growth and development. Counseling is the process of assistance extended by a center personnel in an individual or group situation to a needy patient. The process aims to enabling the individual to learn and pursue more realistic and satisfying solutions to his difficulties. It is a problem oriented and helps the individual understand himself and develop the ability to make decisions and make choices. Third one, individual therapy involves a one-to-one relationship between the counselor and the patient with the primary aim of helping the latter get rid of and reduce his drug abusing behavior so that he may be able to get involved in the productive work and develop insights into his conditions. Group therapy is a form of therapy where the individual is helped through a group process. Each member of the group receives immediate feedback from the other members regarding his verbal and other forms of behavior. Group on the produce support and encouragement are given to the subject premise and that these are effective devices which can positive results toward behavior modification. Family therapy as a form of intervention is based on the recognition that the family, as a primary social unit, can be a source of problem leading to a drug use. Family therapy may include restructuring of the family environmental, manipulation, strengthening of family communication, and discovery of family members to help facilitate the rehabilitation of drug dependence. Community work projects include, among others, environmental and and energy conservation projects, training in agriculture, tree planting, and other social, civic, religious activities. The participation of patients in a community projects can help them integrate into the local society and can also promote community understanding of their needs and recognition of the remaining potential and acceptance. Sheltered workshops provide training for skills development and employment with appropriate compensation in a controlled environment to increase self esteem and chances for outside placement. Last, social reintegration is a process of assisting the patients to become socially and economically self sustaining without the use of drug upon his return to the community.